are you carrying all those bricks for, anyway? God? Is that it? God? Well, I tell you, let me give you a little inside information about God. God likes to watch. He's a prankster. Think about it. He gives man instincts. He gives you this extraordinary gift, and then what does he do? I swear, for his own amusement, his own private cosmic gag reel, he sets the rules in opposition. It's the goof of all time. Look, but don't touch. Touch, but don't taste. Taste, don't swallow. And while you're jumping from one foot to the next, what is he doing? He's laughing his sick fucking ass off. He's a tight ass. He's a sadist. He's an absentee landlord. Worship that? Never.
What you are about to hear is part of the Podgods Network. If you have a problem with anything you hear, please write it in an email and go fuck yourself. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody. How are you doing tonight? This is the Atheist Agenda, and I'm sorry I've been out for a couple of days, but I have been fucking sick, man. I have been sick. But for the most part, I'm trying to get it together and have a nice show for you guys today. This is November 13th, 2013. If you log on to my my chat thing, my chat thing's open so you can bitch and complain and all that kind of shit like you always do. Anyway, the title of this show today, this is going to be Islam, the Cult of Terror. Why? Because they just fucking are. And so I wanted to start the show with a little bit about the Islamic call to prayer. This is the music that these peaceful bastards listen to, so they say. These peaceful bastards listen to get themselves ready to pray their 5 fucking times a day. So I thought you might want to listen to, I don't know, like 10 seconds of it. So here we go. Okay, now the only reason that I played that is because right now I'm sure these motherfuckers somewhere, because I'm going to be talking shit about Muhammad and every other thing about the religion, is trying to zero in on my IP address to come bomb me with some shit. So I just figured if I played the Islamic call to prayer, they're probably all fucking praying somewhere. So I think I'm good for a little while anyway. Well, I think this show should be pretty informative. I don't know how interesting it is to people, but informative. I know that before I started doing research about this, I mean, you hear or see movies about, Muslim terrorists, or we hear about, of course, 9/11, and Muslim extremists and the Sunnis and the social. I mean, everything about the entire Muslim thing for me was pretty much thought up in movies. I didn't know much about the faith, so I decided to look into the faith. I'm a huge watcher of Homeland, but I thought, it seems like such a peaceful religion. I mean, other than, the extremists, which we have in our own Christianity. I mean, so I'm not even concerned about that, I mean, we have our own fucking nutcases and everything else in Christianity in America, and they do things for God and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you something. Ain't nothing. It's nothing like Islam, like Muslims. All right. Now, I know that a lot of you out there saying, well, my next door neighbor's a Muslim. and nicest person in the world. Yes, they are. But let me tell you something. They're not a true Muslim. They're not a true Muslim. There is no such thing as a radical Muslim. There is no such thing. What it is those radical Muslims are followers of Islam. That's what they are. And they follow it to the word. So they're just normal practitioners. These people that are nice, sitting around with the hijabs and running 7-Eleven stores, they're not really practicing that shit. They just aren't. It's kind of like, it's kind of like your weekend Christianity guys. It's like, yeah, I believe in God, but I'm going to go out and hire some hookers and get some coke and get some blow and go to prison and then get back in touch with him. It's kind of like that kind of guy. So, I think I've dedicated everything in the show to examination of Islam. But I tell you what's really funny about it. These sick fucks are 1.2 billion strong. 1.2 billion. It claims to be the fastest growing religion on the planet, and it's only second to Christianity. Now, while I still think Christianity is a sick fucking religion, it scares me to know that Christianity boasts 2.2 billion strong. And I think that's a fucking sobering fact. I mean, if you add the two up, we're at 3.4 billion people alone, nearly half the population of the fucking earth belongs to one of these two deranged fucking cults. Because I think they're both cults. I think Christianity is a cult. Actually, I think all religion's a cult. But they just happen to be, the two most focused on, I think in my previous shows I have focused solely on Christianity, and believe me, that's going to change. I mean, I'm going to get into, every kind of religion there is. I'm going to get into Judaism, and I'm going to get into Satanism. That should be a fun show, actually. Those guys could party. I'm going to get into Satanism. I'm going to get into Hare Krishna. I'm going to get into everything. All right, so this is kind of like my first little venture off. And the only reason, like I said, that I'm starting with this, because, Islam is a very complicated religion. It's very fucked up, but it's very complicated. And I think that, because whenever I was growing up, and I went to church every Sunday and every Wednesday, and I went to private Christian school, and, I had this shit drilled into my head for fucking ever. And my mother, of course, all the time saying, honey, you should, I think we can get you, you should be a pastor. You like to go up and talk, and you like to do all this kind of stuff. And I was kind of gung-ho for it for a while. Got out of it quick, though. But again, it wasn't until I was later on in my life that I decided that it was the whole Christianity thing is fucking full of shit. But nonetheless, but I studied about this Islam thing really a lot. I studied a lot on it, and I read I think I've literally read a fucking book at this point just on Islam. I'm going to have some clips for you, things like that. And I think I've put together, I didn't want to get into the entire religion, but I wanted to get into what its basis was and what contemporary Islam is and what it says today. And some of its high-ranking officials, these people, literally doctors of philosophy and people that actually run everything between Pakistan and between, Saudi Arabia and everything like that. These high-ranking people, what they actually think of the United States. And these people are still listened to all the time. They have podcasts just like this, radio shows just like this, and they listen to these leaders all the time and claim that they're peaceful. So I think I have a pretty good overview of the Islamic religion. And of course, any Muslims or anything like that, and I'm sure you're going to come in and go, well, it doesn't, I'm not taking fucking anything out of context. There is no such thing as anything out of context. If it says something, and I believe this is the Bible too, if it says something, and this is what it says, then that's what it is. The fact that you're sugarcoating that shit means you're taking it out of context, not me. So, I'm going to get into Islam because I think that a lot of people don't really know what it's about. the beginning stages of it, this, that, and the other. I don't think they really know what it's about. So I'm going to get into just kind of the roots of it. I'm, of course, not going to touch on everything, but I'm going to touch on some things that I thought was really fucking interesting, to be honest with you. But so we'll get into it. Islam is a, monotheistic religion. It's based on revelations received by the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century, quite a while ago, which were later recorded in the Quran, Islam's, sacred text. The faith spread rapidly, and today Islam is the second, like I said, largest religion of the world. The Arabic word Islam means, this is what it means, submission, reflecting the religion's central tenet of submitting to the will of God. Islamic practices are defined by the 5 pillars of Islam: faith, prayer, fasting, pilgrimage, and alms. And you know what's so funny? Every day I do read stories about what is transpiring in nations dominated by Islam and think to myself, yeah, I guess it could be worse. And then I blog or I talk about the lesser horrors of American Christianity because, well, that's where I had most of my listeners live. I might ask some people over there in England. I'm not sure. But I tell you what, one of the guys that is specifically against any kind of religion at all, which is a guy that I've read quite a bit on, is Sam Harris, and I actually agree with him. I agree with Sam Harris on the point that Islam is probably the most, or actually the worst of all mainstream religions. After reading about it, I've been convinced of this. I think it's equal in credibility to Christianity, but I don't think it could be argued that Islam has shown a potential to produce malicious behavior unlike any other religion. I don't think that justifies racial profiling. I mean, don't get me wrong, just because you see one of them, don't think they're automatically going fucking batshit crazy. But, anyway, I give you here. Anyway, I'll give you a kind of a clip of what I just read, kind of an example. Look what's happening in Tanzania. In response to a school barring a woman from entry because she was wearing a full veil, this is what happened. Murad bin Homana of the Teachers Union and Manzio, I can't even pronounce this shit, Buddhist up in fucking secondary school, said the woman stormed into the compound, smashed a few cars, and tried to kill the director for refusing the entry of a schoolgirl dressed in her veil into the classroom. School superintendent was beaten with sticks and stones, suffering several broken bones, and the woman's he said that the woman and her assailants had fled. But there's been no arrest, and no interior ministry policy had no immediate comment. And the funny thing about it, this, of course, not even remotely rare in many countries dominated by Islam. This isn't rare. This is quite, and I'll have a toll for you by the end of the show. I like tolls. I like numbers. Hell, in Bangladesh, atheist bloggers are facing the death penalty right now at the hands of their Islamic culture, their government, and the editor of a Bangladesh newspaper got arrested for publishing quotes from these bloggers. He was just publishing the quotes. He's already arrested. You could read these stories every fucking day. The people who insist these maniacs are the outsiders, terrible people who deride the Islamic faith by claiming it for themselves are simply just fucking wrong. They're wrong. Now, I'm not taking a position on whether or not it's okay to allow someone to attend school with their face entirely covered. Quite frankly, if that's your thing, I don't give a fuck. I don't. I don't think most schools in the States would allow it, however. That we have a few, but even where I go to college, I see Muslims at my college, and it's not a big deal. I don't think anything of it. I always look at the headdress and always think how hot the girl would be if she was put some fucking makeup on. But other than that, don't really matter to me at all. But there are some states that they will not allow this to happen. They will not allow, especially southern states, predominantly Republican states. They won't let that shit happen. I don't know what the school's reasoning would be, other than, it's not of God, our God, not your God. I think that's what it is. But what I'm saying, I think, is